You are a deathcore medic. You are the second most valuable item in your squad. The first most valuable item was a plasma gun. Every member of the squad was trained to operate the plasma gun in case the primary operator was killed. It was deemed inefficient to train every member of your squad to perform duties of Medicae. Arguably, therefore, you were the most valuable member of your squad. But the plasma gun has seen decades of service. You had not. You had been trained as a field medic since the age of 12. You performed your first field amputation 8 days after beginning training. The procedure was not successful. The equipment is generic and has been replaced many times. You no longer distinguish between your equipment and your body, as they are both required for your purpose. In your former squad, all members knew your value, and were trained to assist and protect you. Your new squad is less efficient. It has conflicting doctrines. Orders are given in unfamiliar tones and with unfamiliar style. You are struggling to adapt, but you will not fail. The squad needs you. You can protect them. You can save them to fight again. If they die, it is your duty to ensure, in the absence of a quartermaster, that their gear is distributed and stored properly, and that the body is placed where it will not decay and spread to the contaminated area. Give comfort to the enemy, or obstruct the operations of the Imperial Guard. You sometimes have difficulty distinguishing between the living and the dead. Sometimes, the members of your new squad do strange things. You spend hours talking to each other. You have to listen to make sure they are not giving you orders or conveying vital information without you knowing it. You do not want to appear weak. Sometimes, they make strange coughing sounds. You have asked them about this. They do not understand what you mean, and they cough again, showing their teeth and grinning like a skull. You suspect it is an endemic, possibly a sign of weakness of mind. You have been warned to watch for such signs of weakness of mind. You have tested them for lung rot and boarfly larvae in case. Sometimes, it seems as though your squad does not understand your duty. You cannot waste valuable medicine on a soldier who can never make a full recovery to fighting strength. His pain is a weakness of the mind. His screams are a weakness of the mind. You can ignore them. Your squad cannot. They are weak. They do not understand. Your skills are for those who can be saved. It is a waste of ammunition to end the life of the badly wounded. It is a waste of medicine to heal them. Your new squad does not understand. Your new squad is inefficient. They disagree with each other. Intolerable weakness. Sometimes, they disagree with orders that the sergeant gives them. Unthinkable. You are prepared to strip the corpse of the soldier who disagreed with the sergeant, but the sergeant did not execute them. You do not understand that disobedience is death. At the age of 10, you watch them line up and execute a platoon for failing to obey the precise letter of the orders. You do not understand how the Imperial Guard functions if the orders can be questioned. Your new squad fears death. They prefer to risk their missions rather than risk danger. You have seen situations where acceptable losses, up to 20% of the squad, would have led to a much more favourable outcome. Weakness of mind. The equipment of your squad is unorthodox. They have extraneous items. Books that are not regimental issue. Items of decoration. Weapons that are not regimental issue. Modified uniforms. Facial hair. Weakness. Unorthodoxy. It makes sorting the equipment of the dead difficult. Sometimes, members of your squad object you to removing certain items from their corpses. You do not understand this. A dead soldier has no need for non-regimental gear, just as he has no need for the items and weapons issued to him by the quartermaster. You sometimes wonder if you have been placed in a squad of raw recruits. They fear the sight of death. They fear the enemy. They fear death. They are undisciplined. They are inefficient. They are weak. You cannot make them stronger. You can only stop them from failing. You must do your duty. Your squad is weak. One soldier asked for a pain relief as he stitched a minor facial wound. You do not understand. Had he received some serious injury that had evaded your notice? Did he not understand that all medical regiments are to be prized and used only when required? He complained that your stitching would mark his face. You do not understand why he was telling you this. Scarring is part of the healing process. The soldier did not want to be disfigured. It was explained to you. You do not understand why he feared a minor scar. You explained that it would in no way impede his combat effectiveness. He did not cease his complaints for several days. Intolerable weakness. Your squad asked strange questions that are not orders, but require a response. The squad was talking about their homeworlds. You were not listening. It was not important. You were inspecting the high vault for some sniping positions while recumbent. One of your squad members asked you about Krieg. You told her. She did not ask you again. The squad members did not continue talking. Entirely acceptable. Some showed signs of fear. Entirely unacceptable. The sergeant dismissed you at camp. He said you were to report at dawn. You assumed that he, or another officer, would conduct training and inspections until your appointed sleep cycle. No officer appeared. You stood at that empty barracks and waited. Another member of your squad told you to come with them to the regimental mess hall. The soldiers ate here in great numbers. The food is prepared nearby, not packaged in seals. It was disgustingly flavorful. You prefer your rations. You still have a few Krieg rations in your kit. You are saving them for the feast of the Emperor's Ascension. The mess was disorganized. There was too much noise. You found a corner and ate alone. You went back to the barracks to wait. Your squad arrived eventually, and you were told to prepare for the sleep cycle. You had your kit stowed and cleaned well before anyone else. Shirkers. Unorganized. Unacceptable. The sleep cycle here is too long. After precisely 4 hours, you woke up. The rest of the squad was not awake. There were no lights. You were confused. You stared at the ceiling until the surgeon arrived 2.5 hours later. Sometimes, you feel very alone. Staring at the ceiling of the barracks for 2.5 hours every sleep cycle is not efficient. You do not want to wake up your squad. They are weak. They require more rest than you do. You have memorized every Imperial feast day your old regiment celebrated. You spent 2 nights memorizing the feast of your new regiment. Some dates conflict. You spent several more nights attempting to combine the two without conflict. Sometimes, you would take out the knuckle bones and look at them. They are from your first kill. They are polished brown and yellow now. They are very small. You were 10 years old when you shot him. He was a deserter from your training regiment. He ran from the tunnel Warren and to the surface one night. Your squad was ordered to hunt him down. You remember his serial number, 104-2205-P, but you do not remember what he looked like. The knuckle bones are much bigger when the training officer handed them to you. Perhaps they had been worn down, even though you had kept them safe in a cotton bag in your kit. The God Emperor of mankind directs the fate of all humankind. Without him, humanity would not exist. It is by his will alone that ships travel from world to world, that the wise govern, that men live and die, and that the functions of the universe continue as ordered. Once, Krieg failed the God Emperor of mankind and rejected the Imperium. We continue to pay the price for our disobedience. We are less than the least vermin in the sight of the Emperor, barely above the traitors to the Imperial cause we triumphed over. We serve the Imperium wholly, without reservation, nothing held back, nothing of our own. We fight those who would destroy his Emperor's vision and cast down the works of man. We will not fail again. We cannot fail again. The soldiers here are weak. They are easily distracted. The regiment has women in it. Your sergeant is a woman. Krieg regiments do not have female soldiers, though you have seen them in training regiments. All Kriegers train. All Kriegers. We will not fail again. You do not understand many of the things your squad members do and say. They say so many things. They have a language you do not understand. It is not important. It will not lead to a victory. It is a distraction. You are beginning to hate them for it. It is a traitorous thought, hating a soldier of the Imperial Guard. You punish yourself for it by training harder. The Vostroyans are proud. All the Krieg are humble. The Vostroyans have hand-marked weapons and fine armor. A Krieg needs nothing more than generic tools and anonymous weapons. The Vostroyans are led by the mad, the brilliant, the inspiring, and the quick. Krieg regiments are led by the survivors. They have very little in common, aside from a few background details. The Vostroyans are still human beings, after all. Side tangent. The Space Marines are more than human. They have passions and hatred and feuds and live on a larger scale than mortal men. Where they walk, the earth shakes. They are the god-touched. Like the false deities from an old opera, they boom and thunder. Every emotion is magnified. Every weakness spreads into catastrophe. Every strength is almost overbearing. They can be poets and tacticians, and great leaders of men. But they must fight if the Imperium is to survive at all. They are not human, but beyond humanity. The Cadians are a brutal fighting force, trained to stand at the gate of the Imperium and hold the door shut, or block the aperture with bodies. Nevertheless, they are still human. They breed leaders and warriors with their geniuses. They adapt to face their foes. They are true soldiers of facing the impossible and the unimaginable every day. Mordians chose discipline over effectiveness long ago, but in a proud and noble sort of way. They sacrificed gloriously with colour and spectacle. The Vostroyan I've covered above. But the Krieg? The Krieg are wound-up toys made from broken and beaten children. They are sort of human beings we institutionalise into the modern world. They cannot function. Any soldier from the regiments above, Cadian, Vostroyan, Mordian, could retire and live in a peaceful life. Many do. But the Krieg are tools built for brutal war. They've become less than human, to fight things that aren't human at all, and suffered for it. Imagine what a Krieg looks like naked. Pale, patchy hair, or shaved near to the skin. Old, badly healed scars. Malnourished. Hygiene powder around the vital areas. Pale eyes. With his mask on, he's an ominous figure. Without it, he almost looks normal. Almost. Some things throw you off. The way he folds his pants over the back of the chair. Precise. Too precise. The way he moves. The way he looks at things. His eyes are just a little too wide. His neck swivels oddly. He's used to wearing a mask. Sometimes he brushes out a hose that isn't there, moving it across the imaginary chest piece. He doesn't look afraid or nervous. Most young men do, when they're alone with a woman for the first time. You beckon him over to bed. He moves oddly. For no reason that you can explain, he makes you uncomfortable. The way he clenches his jaw quietly. The way he smells. The way he speaks. Mechanical. Empty. Mad. That's it. He's practically weeping madness. Like the penitents of the Martyrs' Row on the old beggar's outside almshouse, who screams about the spirit and the war. But his squad mates paid his way. Plus a little extra. And he's not so bad. Really. You tell him what to do. Gentle-like, as not to scare him. He does it like a servitor, mechanically, fumbling with unfamiliar tasks. You put your hand on his shoulder, and he flinches. So you just lean back and invite him over. He moves with that pleasure or intensity. It's like he's somewhere else. Like this is distasteful to him. A duty that has to be performed. One that risks corruption and failure. His expression never changes. As you look into his pale, dead eyes, for no reason that you can explain, you begin to cry.